All right, get this. Close your eyes and imagine. Sun-drenched rolling hills, vineyards as far as the eye can see, and those charming little villages like you see in the movies, clinging to the cliff sides.
Yeah.
And the smell. Oh, don't even get me started. Fresh-baked bread and lemons everywhere. Yeah, you guessed it. Today's deep dive, we're heading straight to Italy. We've got a ton of history and culture to unpack, all from this, well, pretty dense source, honestly.
Dense is an understatement.
But stick with us, I promise. You'll be spouting Italy facts by the end of this, even if you don't know a word of Italian right now.
Oh, trust me, there are some real hidden gems in here. I mean, we're talking about a place that's been the heart of empires, the birthplace of, entire artistic movements, the inspiration for, countless poems, paintings, plates of pasta.
Pasta, there it is.
Get ready to have your mind blown, though, because Italy is way more than just pizza and gladiators at the Colosseum.
Speaking of preconceived notions, I bet when most people think Italy, they see that boot, right?
The classic boot.
Kicking a soccer ball right into the Mediterranean Sea.
Every time.
Classic Italy. But do you know, tucked away in that boot are two tiny, and I mean tiny, independent countries.
Yeah, talk about your interesting neighbors, right? You've got Vatican City, the smallest country in the world, smack dab in the middle of Rome. The Pope's practically waving from his balcony.
Right next door.
And then you've got San Marino, this ancient republic, way up in the mountains. I'm talking history dating back to, the Roman Empire. It's like stepping into a time machine, but you're still technically in Italy. It's wild.
My mind is already blown, and we're 5 minutes in. Okay, so many countries within a country, got it. But zoom out for a sec, because Italy itself, not exactly small.
Not at all.
It's the third most populous country in the entire European Union.
Which means a lot of people eating a lot of pasta, let me tell you.
Well, there had to be a reason for that deep dive on pasta a few weeks ago.
They go through an average of over 60 pounds per person per year, Yeah. That's like what, eating your weight in spaghetti?
See, that's the kind of fun fact I need in my life. Okay, so Italy, land of pasta, passion, all that good stuff. But have you ever, stopped to think about where the name Italy even comes from? It's a little weird if you ask me.
It's true. I mean, who knew a country like this could get its name from?
Well, get this. The ancient Greek word for calf.
Wait, seriously?
Seriously?
Imagine
that on a postcard. Wish you were here in the land of the calf.
Okay, that's not very catchy.
But hey, there's a theory behind it. Probably has something to do with the early inhabitants raising cattle, And somehow the name, it was just for a tiny area in the south originally, but it just grew and grew over centuries to cover the whole boot.
That's crazy.
It shows you how much history is packed into, the simplest words.
All right, so we're talking way, way back, before the pasta, before the pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Give us the deep, deep history here. Early humans in Italy. What's the story?
We're talking way before the Roman Empire, way before any of that. Neanderthals, they were roaming around this land tens of thousands of years ago. Neanderthals in Italy. Who knew?
And don't forget Ötzi.
Oh, the Iceman.
The one and only. Found frozen in the Alps, perfectly preserved with his tattoos and tools, the whole 9 yards.
That's got to be a museum exhibit and a half.
Talk about a time capsule. 5,000 years old from Italy's prehistory. It's mind-blowing.
Okay, so we've got Neanderthals, we've got ice mummies, and then who shows up?
Well, then you get the waves of settlers coming in, right? Each one leaving its own little mark, changing the game. You've got the Phoenicians setting up shop, bringing their alphabet and their awesome ships. But the Greeks, they're the ones who really made their mark, colonized a huge chunk of southern Italy, called it Magna Graecia, Greater Greece. Their impact, you can still see it today in the art, the architecture, even the language. It's everywhere.
Laying the groundwork, huh?
Big time.
And then from those Greek foundations, in this little corner of central Italy, boom, ancient Rome. This tiny village explodes, becomes an empire, and changes the course of Western civilization.
And thing is, Rome, it wasn't some overnight success story, Started small, humble settlement, slowly growing, gaining power, flexing a little. They went from kings to a republic, and then fueled by a bit of military might and, let's be honest, some pretty smart diplomacy, they conquered a huge chunk of the known world.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the gladiators and the chariots. But the Roman Empire, they were a force to be reckoned with. But here's the thing, they didn't just conquer. They built, they innovated.
Absolutely. These guys were the original master builders. They created roads, aqueducts, those public baths.
Oh, yeah.
Still standing today. And their legal system, forget about it, became the foundation for legal codes across Europe. We're talking about a legacy that's still shaping things centuries later. It's incredible.
But even the biggest empires, they don't last forever, right? What happens to Italy after Rome falls apart? It's not like everyone just packed up and went home.
Yeah. Well, it got kind of messy. I mean, imagine centuries of like chaos and change. Italy, it became this patchwork quilt of different kingdoms and duchies, republics, all fighting for power.
Sounds exhausting.
Oh, totally. It was like a never-ending game of political chess, alliances changing all the time.
And somewhere in all of that, you've got these Italian cities like Venice, Florence, Genoa. They're booming, while the rest of Europe is still trying to figure things out. How'd they pull that off?
That's where our boy Marco Polo comes in, right? See, Venice, they had this powerful navy, incredible ships, plus their location right on the Adriatic Sea, prime real estate.
Perfect for trade.
Exactly. They became the gateway to the East. So these merchants, like Marco Polo, they're sailing off, bringing back exotic goods, spices, silks, you name it. And stories, oh man, stories that would blow your mind.
And I bet they brought back more than just stories. Didn't those trade routes play a role in the Black Death spreading?
Yeah. Can't talk about the good without the bad. It's a brutal reminder that even when things are going great, something can come along and change the game entirely.
It's true. Things were never the same after the Black Death.
Just devastating. Killed millions, changed the social landscape, impacted everything, even art and literature.
It's hard to imagine, but okay, Italy picks itself up again.
Always.
And this is where things get really interesting. The Renaissance. Talk about comeback.
The ultimate comeback.
Yeah.
Imagine coming out of the darkness, the plague, all that, rediscovering ancient knowledge, art, philosophy, and suddenly, boom, it's like someone flipped a switch. Human potential, it's everywhere you look.
Cue the geniuses.
Oh yeah, all the big names. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael.
Legends.
These guys weren't just artists, they were pushing boundaries, breaking the mold. Think about Da Vinci, right? The guy could do it all. Painting, inventing, engineering. He was designing flying machines centuries before anyone even dreamed of airplanes.
That's what I call ahead of your time.
And it wasn't just art, right? It was about pushing the limits of human knowledge, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. The whole vibe was different.
And we can't forget about the Medici family.
Oh, the Medicis. Talk about power players.
They were like the celebrities of their day.
They were bankers, patrons of the arts, kingmakers, you name it. They basically shaped Florence in their image. And their influence, we're still feeling it today.
They knew how to make a statement, that's for sure. But fast forward a bit, 18th, 19th centuries, Italy is still struggling to be, well, Italy, right, still all these separate states with their own rulers and their own agendas.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But that's where this idea of a unified Italy, one country, starts to take root. Think revolutions, uprisings. Everybody wants to be in charge.
Everyone wants to wear the crown.
Exactly. And the Italians are like, hey, why not us? We deserve to rule ourselves. It was a wild time.
That's an understatement. So the Risorgimento, the resurgence, that's when things really start to heat up, right?
Big time. This is when those big personalities come out to play. Giuseppe Mazzini, for example. This guy was a firebrand, a writer, a revolutionary, all about uniting Italy under one flag.
Talk about a powerful voice.
And then there's Garibaldi, the ultimate man of action, with his red shirts, fighting for Italian unification, legendary.
Okay, so we've got passion, we've got firepower, but unifying a country takes brains too, right?
Right.
Like some serious political maneuvering.
100%. And that's what Camillo Benso, Count of Cavour, steps in. This guy, he was the brains behind the operation. He was the prime minister of Piedmont, Sardinia, but really, he was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers.
What do you mean?
He knew Italy couldn't do it alone. He needed allies, powerful friends. So he makes nice with France, plays his cards right, and boom, they managed to outmaneuver Austria, who had their own designs on Italy.
Smooth operator.
The best. And just like that, by 1861, Italy, it's a united kingdom. It actually happened. But of course, that wasn't the end of the story.
Because new country, new problem.
Always. Unifying on paper is one thing, but now they had to make it work. And that meant tackling some big issues, like the economic gap between the industrial north and the more rural south, not to mention the political instability. It was a lot to handle.
And then, as if they didn't have enough on their plate, World War I kicks off.
Yeah, talk about bad timing, right? Italy tries to stay neutral at first, but then they see a chance to gain some territory, and, well, they jump into the fray.
Big mistake.
Huge. The war, it was brutal, heavy casualties, economic hardship. Italy was on the winning side, yeah, but they felt cheated, like they didn't get what they were promised.
Hence the mutilated victory.
Exactly. They were angry, resentful, the economy was in shambles, politics were a mess, and that, my friend, created the perfect breeding ground for, well, you know who?
Mussolini.
The one and only. This guy, he knew how to play on people's fears, their frustrations. He promises to bring back the glory days of the Roman Empire, make Italy great again.
Didn't work out so well.
Not even a little bit. He establishes a dictatorship, shuts down anyone who disagrees with him, and partners up with, you guessed it,
Hitler.
the worst. World War II, it was disaster for Italy, devastating. The country was left in ruins.
It's crazy how a place known for its beauty, its art, its love of life, could go through something so dark.
It's a reminder that history is messy, complicated. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
And it makes Italy's comeback after the war even more incredible. You know, it's easy to get caught up in the darkness of that period. But even under fascism, it wasn't all bad, right? I mean, there were people who fought back, who resisted Mussolini and the Nazis.
Oh, absolutely. The Italian resistance, those men and women were incredible, so brave, putting their lives on the line to fight for freedom. They know what was at stake.
Yeah, it's important to remember that even in the darkest times, there's always hope. There are always people fighting for a better future. And speaking of a better future, after the war ends, Italy has a chance to start fresh. And wow, do they ever.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. In 1946, they hold a referendum and they choose to get rid of the monarchy altogether. No more kings. They want a republic, a chance to build something new, something better.
And they weren't just rebuilding politically. Italy's economy, it just explodes after the war. I mean, think about it. Italian cars, Fiat, Alfa Romeo, they became like symbols of style, right?
Oh, for sure.
And Italian fashion, Gucci,
Yeah.
Prada, Armani, these are the names, even today.
The best in the world.
And we can't forget the food. Everyone loves Italian food.
It's true. Pasta, pizza, gelato.
It took over the world, and for good reason.
Delicious reason. But seriously, it's like Italy went from, the devastation of war to la dolce vita, the good life, almost overnight.
Living the dream.
Exactly. And don't forget, a big part of that success, joining the European project, Italy was one of the founding members of the European Economic Community, which of course became the European Union. A huge moment for Italy and for Europe.
Talk about making a comeback.
Oh, wow.
But even with all that progress, I imagine there were still bumps in the road. I mean, no country is perfect, right?
Of course not. Italy has definitely had its share of challenges, even in recent decades. They struggled with political corruption, economic stagnation, that kind of thing. And let's be honest, that gap between the wealthy north and the poorer south, it's still there.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
But even with those challenges, there's just something about Italy that captures the imagination, you know?
Oh, totally. It's the culture, the passion, the people. Italians really know how to live in the moment, enjoy the simple things. Whether it's a long lunch with family and friends, a glass of wine in a piazza, or just appreciating the beauty around them. They don't sweat the small stuff.
It's contagious, and that's what makes it such a fascinating place to learn about. I mean, from the ancient Romans to modern-day Italy, it's a country that just keeps surprising you.
Totally agree. And what's amazing is this deep dive with this crazy source material, it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore, so many stories to uncover.
It makes you want to book a flight right now. Just picture it strolling through Rome, getting lost in the canals of Venice, eating your weight in pasta under the Tuscan sun.
Who knows? Maybe this deep dive will inspire someone out there to have their own Italian adventure.
There you have it, folks. The story of Italy. A whirlwind tour through the ages, from ancient times to the modern world. And hopefully by now, you're just as fascinated with this amazing country as we are.
Because Italy, it's more than just a place on a map, right? It's an idea, a feeling. It's about passion, beauty, history, food, family. It's about living life on your own terms, enjoying every single moment. And that's something we can all learn from no matter where we come from.
Beautifully said. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, we have one question for you. What surprised you the most about Italy? What sparked your curiosity? And what's the first thing you'd want to see or do if you ever got the chance to visit? Let us know. Until next time, ciao.